All right, so if you guys can see my screen, I hope I have a Machine Advisor fleet overview present. Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So this is the login screen. If I start at the very beginning and log out, you guys are able to go up here at any time and create your own account. The track feature with Machine Advisor is free. And of course, now it's going to take its sweet time. There we go. So if you go to machine-advisor.schneider-electric.com, you'll come to this page. Click on Join Us, and mine's going to skip through the next page. No, it's not. So if you don't have a account, you can register for an account right here. There are some steps as far as getting payment set up, but we can get to that once you start playing around with it. We can do a quick tutorial on that as well. So if I log in, it's going to ask username and password. And what they have right now is that your first machine is free for, Steve, is it 3 months or a month? I think it's 3 months. And then track, which is where your documentation and all the other repositories, that's free. Monitor is what costs, it has a value to it. So what I'm going to do is show you real quick with my fleet overview that I can set up some machine types, and basically what we can consider this is a template of machines. So if I'm an OEM and I build a lot of the same things, we don't want to come up here and have to create the machine every single time, but we can use a template. And that's really what this is. And if I go and I view the type, we can see that the way I have this set up is that once it finally displays, is that this is all of the hardware that's in my demo case. So if I use this as a machine template and just say, this is my template, this is what I'm going to use, that makes life a lot easier for configuring this. And then what I want to do is I want to register a machine. I'm going to name it, and let's name it Cloud Demo for the sake of today. And then there's my machine types down here, and I can click Add here, and I could add them back at that other screen. So here's my machine type, Buffalo Demo. This is part of the customer, and the customer is where I can set up email lists, things of that nature, people that are going to receive alarms. And feel free to jump in anytime if you guys have a question. If I've gone too far, if the screen freezes, I apologize right now if the dog starts barking or something else happens. So, and then what I can do is I can set up my location of where the machine is. And in this case, we'll just put it in the town that I'm in right now. And then we can say finish. And what I just did with those simple steps is I created a machine within Machine Advisor. And on this page, I can go and I can create tasks. I can edit my machine if it was a custom, if this had some option that a customer ordered, we can go in there and we could add that, we can delete that. And what's cool too is that this QR code, I think we've talked about this before, is that if you hold your phone's camera up to this right now, the QR code will bring you to the track page, so that if you had a customer or you had a support issue where a technician needed to find a document, if you print this out and stick it to the side of the machine, all the documents that you put up here is easily retrieved by scanning this QR code. If you had a phone, if you had a tablet, if you had a laptop, That way you don't have to go look for the folder. You don't have to go look for the file cabinet that had the folder. Somebody moved the file cabinet. Where is it now? It's all right here. And the track portion of this is the free portion. But what we're going to talk about today is how to set up monitor. So if you notice, one of the things that comes up here is because I have this set up as my template, I have some widgets that are already pre-populated because of my machine type. Again, it makes it really nice because I don't have to create this every single time I make a new machine. The data that we're going to look for right now is over in this config tab. And we're going to take this and we're going to connect our machine and we're going to do a subscription. And this is all about that whole thing with the payment and whatnot. So I'm going to go back. Where'd that go? I closed the wrong window. Sorry. So there's the machine. It's already there. There's that. We're going to go back to monitor. And the data that I need right now is under the config tab. And I need to set this to connect my machine. I'm going to pay per use. And then I need to set up some other criteria. And I'm going to do, so here's some information that is necessary. And all you really have to remember is that if we set our machine up for HTTPS or we set it up for MQTTS, we need to set up our device to do the same thing. So we're going to do M262 Charlie format HTTPS. And what that does is that it simply sets up how the data is going to be received from our device. Now here's some information that we're going to need, and we're going to create a new token in a minute. Our host, our resource, and this token, this is a TLS certificate. And what they've done, and they is Schneider, is that they've made this so that you only get to see this token one time, and that is for security, because we want to make sure that this isn't easily hacked into. It passes these certificates back and forth securely. So now, having this displayed, we're going to go to Machine Expert Logic Builder, and this is the way it shows up when you first open it. And we're going to create a new project. And I'm going to select this one simply because this is the one that has my example program associated with it. It gets a little bit confusing because even though the device I have is this one, there's no examples here. And if I just kind of go to the next one, the example we're going to use is right here. And I got to name this. We're going to call it Cloud Example. And we have to tell it where we want it to start saving. And for now, we're going to use that one. So I've found the example I want, Machine Advisor Communication Example. I've named it, and I pointed to the location of where that's going to reside. So now if I hit OK, we're going to watch it create this project, and then we're going to make some changes to it, like the controller type, change the IP address so that it matches the network that I'm going to put it in. And then we're just going to do some copy paste stuff from Machine Advisor. So once it gets done creating all of this stuff, if you look down here, it still says it's creating the project. It's loading a bunch of libraries. So let me just say this too, is that this example on getting your M262 to talk to Machine Advisor is full of a lot of code. But I can tell you that Schneider has developed a single function block, what I would call a one and done function block, that really takes care of hiding a lot of this complicated code into a pins in, pins out type function block, making life really easy. I need to get my hands on that and test it. In fact, Schneider US is still trying to get their hands on it to test it. And once I do, I'll post that video to YouTube as well. So this is what we've created with just that example program. First thing I'm going to do is simply right click up here, and I'm going to convert this to the device I have. And I have a motion controller, an M15, and we'll let it do that conversion. Any questions so far? Everybody's totally lost?
If you need Marty to backtrack anything, or
Marty,
What's that?
there's a bit to digest. I think we might come back with some better questions once we watch this again.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I thought that it'd be best to record it. That way you can review it.
Thank you.
yeah, Marty's obviously done this more than once.
I believe that.
Sometimes the easiest or the lessons learned the best are the ones where you broke it, and then you have to go back and figure out why you broke it.
Marty, where's this stuff hosted? Is this on a cloud that's part of Schneider, or is this on the back of somebody else, like a Asia or something?
Machine Advisor is actually sitting on Azure.
Okay.
So this is all sitting up as part of the IoT hub of Azure, or Azure, depending on who you ask.
Right.
So,
All right, guys.
Somebody's got to turn their mic off. We good? Yeah. All right, so it finished the conversion, and all we did was we changed it to the device that I have. And now what I'm going to do is come down here to Ethernet 1, set the IP address so that my network knows who I'm talking to. Put my router in there. So now this is where things start getting right down into the weeds, and we start getting pretty technical with this. I'm going to push that over there so that I can see my web visualization. I'm going to, sorry, over here, I'm going to open this up. So now if you notice, here's our server URL, here's our host, resource, and our custom header 2. If we go back to here, there's our protocol, there's custom header 1, which should look a lot like custom header 1. This is our resource, so if we just click this, this is a copy button. We come back over here, and we put that information in there. We come over here, and we grab the host, and we put that host under the URL. So then under host, what we're going to do is get rid of the HTTPS and put that there. Make sense? So now the magic of this, the certificate of this, is our new token, and we're going to create this token, and we're going to copy that, and we're going to put that in custom header 2. In fact, originally when Machine Advisor was first put up there, they called it custom header 2 on there, and then they changed it to token. Right, so there's our TLS certificate, and we're going to save that. We're going to come over here. We're going to point to the controller that I want to send it to, which is this guy sitting in my demo case. Double click him so that he's highlighted, and I should be able to go multiple download, always perform a full download. Okay. So we'll get into creating the data that I'm sending and all that stuff in a minute, but for now I'm going to show you the connection process. So if you guys see all of this code and all of these actions and all these function blocks and stuff, that one and done function block that's supposed to be coming out that I'm going to get my hands on, it buries all that in there. And thanks to the 2019 cybersecurity law, every PLC in the world now has to have username and password on it. It's not a Schneider thing, that's a worldwide thing. So if you have any that don't have username and password on it, once you give it a new firmware, it'll have it.
Marty, do you feel like you should know the details of this verbose configuration to use the newer one, or can you can pretend you don't know about any of this and just make a whack at the newer one that hides most of these things?
I think that it's always good, in my opinion, to understand what's behind it. You don't have to have an in-depth understanding, because we're not going to get into the weeds and go through all of this stuff. There's a couple of things that we're going to hit on, like creating the data string, getting the connection, because we have to do, no matter what, we have to know this information, because this is the server information as to where we're pushing data to. So I need to know that no matter what. We're going to get into creating the data that we send up there, and that's part of this JSON string. And until I get my hands on the one and done function block, I don't know how they're structuring this, right? Because I got to tell it that I'm sending this data point, and then it's got to have a timestamp, right? So that when you look at the data on Machine Advisor, it knows where to put it, so that you can do your trend graphs and you can do your history and all that stuff, right? So those are really what we're going to cover today, other than trying to get to the certificates and that as well. So it's good to know this. We're not going to go through all of it, and until I get my hands on the other function block, this is what we have, really. So
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so now my PLC is running. If I come over and I go online with it, it downloaded, it's in run mode, and unless it makes a liar out of me, it's publishing what's called a web visualization, which is a HMI screen that is residing on HTML5. And if I point my browser to that, I should see same username and password. Oh, right. Hang on. One change. That login screen, Schneider has admitted that I already had to log in to get to the web visualization. They're actually they're either going to take it out of the demo program or they have to fix how it's implemented. So what I did there was I bypassed it because I already had to log in to get to the screen anyways. Oh, come on. You notice I didn't do anything different. I just hit download again. Sometimes with the way the handshaking works and the gateways work, they conflict with each other at times. So I just hit download again, and there's kind of a lot going on in here. There. So now if I go back over here, nine. Yeah, right. Learn to type. Oh, come on.
Hey, Marty, it's Eric.
What's that?
Do you have to put, are you sure after you put the colon 8089, when I did it with Joe yesterday, she didn't add the web visu after that?
Yeah, you do, but I see one of the things I'm going to do different here. This is the exact same piece of code. In fact, hang on, let me back up again. One more step. One of the things that we did was that we fixed that login screen so that I don't have to deal with the login screen. And anything that I show you here, you guys, I'll send it to whoever needs it. This is what happens when your brain is as full as mine, I guess. All right, so let's do this again. I'm going to go through and just catch up to where we were. You'll see why I doing it this way instead of going through the example. The example still has that login screens on there, and it's requesting the login, but currently their buttons need to be fixed. So when this gets done converting and I expand this out, you'll see that it's the exact same project that we had before, only the visualizations are changed. So yeah, Eric, I had all of this working, and what Joe informed me about yesterday was how to separate out all of the certificates. So everything was already there and everything was working, and what I didn't understand was the certificates, and that's where it gets a little bit in the weeds, and you have to try and figure out how all that works. So that's where Joe helped me out with that. All right. Still loading some libraries. Remember what I said about sometimes those lessons learned the hard way?
It's a live demo. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so there's all that. Should be back to where we were. So if you notice in the demo that there is some simulated machine data sections in here. So when you start implementing this, if you wanted to copy paste this project into what you already have, there's a lot of it in here that you wouldn't have to worry about. All right, so this is back to where we were. 62, 89, and web visu.html. So now if we go here, I don't know why that's not populated. We're going to do this. Let me go back here. I got to grab my host. Go here. I need to put my host in there. Grab my resource. Put my resource in there. And I need to grab my certificate. And put my certificate in there. Okay. So let's copy that, bring this over here, domain name in there. I'm going to hit execute. That's good. So we need to do this step because what this is doing is that it's setting up my certificates back to my M262 because we want to make sure that we have trusted only certificates. And with all of the Machine Advisor criteria in here, with our resource and our header and our token and all that stuff, we're going to hit connect. And we actually got connected. And one of the things that we're going to see is that if we go back here to view in our security screen, go to devices, we're going to see some trusted certificates. Now, had you done this for the very first time, you would have actually, this connection would have failed. And the reason for that is because it would have put a quarantine certificate in here and nothing in trusted. And this is where it gets a little bit into the weeds, because when we come back and we start looking at what it gave me for a certificate, it gave me this guy here, and it has 3 certificates kind of buried in it. And I had to break them out into individual files. So if we notice, there is a Microsoft certificate that was part of this, there was a Digi certificate that was part of this, and there was the Azure certificate that was part of this. So in my Machine Advisor, I had to delete the quarantine certificate, come here, add my 3 trusted certificates, and that's why when we go here, I now get a valid connection. And if I was to transmit my data, we see that everything transmitted correctly. We got green lights, it was all a success. And now when I come over to Machine Advisor and I look at values, those values are now, those were the values that we sent from the M262 into our brand new machine. So I really hope that when I jumped from one to another, I came into this. If we notice, this is the same project. There are some missing things, especially in the visualization, because I went straight to the main screen instead of having to log in, and that's the difference between the example program and this one. we only had to change a couple of things in here. We had to put this information in so that I got the connection to Machine Advisor. And then on this screen, by hitting connect for the very first time, it actually generated a quarantined certificate. And then I had to break that certificate out into its individual certificates and load them back into the security. And the reason we're doing that, obviously, is because we want to make sure that everything is secure, it's trusted certificates only, and it has all of this connectivity. So now we can actually transmit our data if I hit connect. I think there's only, yeah, I think there's only the two. Any questions? And I apologize for muddying the waters by jumping back and forth in the example.